Hi guys, it's Kristy here, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do a video on how I cope with wearing my NG tube out in public and the kinds of reactions that I do get from the public and how I deal with those reactions. This is sort of my personal journey with the NG tube, so I think, whatever way you want to deal with wearing your NG tube out in public is totally up to you. It's your process, you can deal with it whatever way you want to. This is just going to be how I personally deal with those types of situations. So I wear an NG tube because I have Crohn's disease. It is an inflammatory bowel disease where I get inflammation all throughout my digestive system. So wearing the NG tube allows me to get bowel rest. I do wear the NG tube on and off depending on how sick I'm feeling. But whenever I do wear it, I generally wear the NG tube out and about, during the day. I find that feeding through the tube during the day works best for me. So in that sense, I need to be able to go about my daily business whilst wearing it. I need to go to work, go out in public, go do my food shopping, etc. Just lead my daily life. So I have experienced a lot of different reactions from the public, and I have learned the best way for me to cope with those reactions. And to be honest, the way that I deal with it really depends on how I'm feeling on a specific day. For example, if I want to literally just go to wherever it is I want to go, get whatever it is I want to get done quick, as fast as possible, and not really have to deal with anyone, not have to overly think about the fact that I'm wearing a tube or have to deal with the fact that everyone's staring at it, etc. I will literally just go wherever it is I'm going and literally just eye on the prize. I'll literally ignore everyone around me. If I'm going grocery shopping, I'll literally just be looking at the food. I will make a conscious effort not to actually look at anyone. In my peripheral vision, I can obviously see sometimes people are looking, but I just literally hold my head up high. It's almost like, when you're in a rush, you're literally just straight in and straight out of the shop and you don't even really notice anything else. It's literally just, I channel that energy. I just go straight into the shop, do not look at anyone, and just try to get my stuff done. And that's for the days where I literally just don't want to have to think about the fact that I'm wearing a tube. I literally just want to get whatever I'm doing done as fast as possible. Then there are also days where I'm feeling a bit sort of sassier. It's not necessarily day specific, it's also situation specific. If I'm in the supermarket or something and I am doing my food shopping and I am just kind of ignoring everyone, but someone literally purposely goes out of their way to like overly stare at me, that's when my kind of mood will change. Or it also just can be I'm in a specific mood that day, but some days I'm just not in the mood for people making me feel uncomfortable. I think for me, I'm already, feeling unwell, I'm feeling tired, and for other people to almost purposely go out of their way to make me feel more uncomfortable, I don't really appreciate. So in that sense, I react a certain way. There are obviously another set of people who look at the tube and they kind of see, wow, this girl must be sick, etc. And they'll look at it briefly and then they'll look at you and they'll smile. And I know that I'm happy then for people to look at it briefly, then look at me as a person and see that I'm looking back at them and smile at me, and I'll happily smile back, and I honestly don't mind that. I think it's more for people who literally just stare at me and they stare at the tube and then I stare back at them and they don't even really notice that I'm actually staring back at them, because all they're looking at is the tube. They don't actually look at me to see that I'm staring back at them. So for a while, whenever I first had the tube, I would just say, oh, I'll just ignore it. Just, these are for people who purposely go out of their way and they've made me feel really uncomfortable, but I would just say, look, I'll just ignore it, it'll be fine. But I almost used to get angry at myself, like, I'm already going through a tough time and then these people think it's okay to actually make me feel more uncomfortable whenever I'm just trying to, do my daily business and try to get on with trying to lead as normal life as possible. So I therefore kind of started to react to these types of people. If someone would, purposely like stare at me, if they were walking towards me and then they would suddenly like slow down to get a really good look, or purposely like, turn around and continue to stare at it and, really make it really, really obvious, I'll just literally dead set stare them in the eyes and I'll literally not stop staring until they turn away. And usually after a while they'll realise they've been staring at the tube, but then suddenly they see that you're actually staring back at them, and they'll actually start themselves to feel really uncomfortable because they have been caught out, and then they'll suddenly sheepishly look away. So in that sense, that's my way of being like, you know, yeah, you've made me feel really uncomfortable, so I'm actually going to make you feel uncomfortable. And I'm not saying that's the right way to react to these types of people. It just makes me almost feel like, well, at least I've stood up for myself, because I used to not really do that, and then afterwards I would feel like, God, you know, they made me feel really uncomfortable and I really didn't stand up for myself. And this is my way of kind of standing up for myself silently. I'll literally just blankly stare at them, like straight on stare at them, and almost be like, can I help you? You know, until they actually feel uncomfortable themselves and realize, oh God, well maybe I shouldn't stare. Maybe I shouldn't stare at this you know, this girl. Then there are people who have made me feel so uncomfortable in the past where I've actually turned around and I've continued to stare at them, and they literally don't care that I'm realizing that they're staring at me. They can see that they're making me feel uncomfortable, but they literally just don't care. And they're not staring at me in a kind of wishing me well sense, you know, because usually by the time they realize that you're looking back at them, they will smile if they're wishing you well. It's kind of like, oh my God, what is wrong with her, blah 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 kind of way. So I have actually turned around to a few people and said, can I help you? And they instantly will say, oh no, oh no, sorry. There was one guy who was really, really cheeky, and he was like, oh, well, I just thought I knew you. I was like, okay. But that is as far as it's ever gone. People by that point are like, oh God, no, sorry, and then they just walk off. So in that sense, you know, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, which is for them to stop staring at me and make me feel uncomfortable. There are also days where I, you know, want to talk about it, or, you know, I will happily oblige people that want to ask me about it, versus days where I'm just feeling fed up and I don't really want to discuss it. And there is a way for me to kind of politely kind of skirt around the issue or get out of the topic as quick as possible. You know, people say, oh, how are you feeling? This can be the random stranger who's beside you at the doctor, or it can be, you know, a family member who, you know, maybe hasn't seen you for a while and they're kind of wondering how you are, and you just couldn't really be bothered to get into the whole thing. So, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I'm feeling okay. You know, how are you? How's things going? You know, blah, blah, blah. And you start asking questions about them, and it can get you off the topic pretty quickly without having to go in depth about, you know, how your health is, how you're feeling about the tube, etc, etc. Because there's just some days where I don't really want to discuss it. You know, for the days where I am happy to discuss it, I will sit and discuss it with people, but there is just some days where I literally just couldn't be bothered to discuss it. So a way I find is just to start asking people about, you know, how are they getting on, etc, etc, and that usually gets me off the topic pretty quickly. Another thing that I do is I just kind of answer generically. You know, there was a guy beside me at the doctor's, and he was just like asking me questions like, well, how are you getting on? Is it curable? You know, how long will you have that for? And I just, you know, answered questions that were kind of, couldn't really be followed up with other questions like, oh, how long are you going to have it? Oh, don't know. You know, and it's not being rude, it's just kind of saying, you know, I appreciate that you're asking me and you're concerned about me, and I'll answer the questions, but I just don't really want to delve into it really anymore. You know, oh, you know, do you think you'll get better soon? Oh, I don't know. You know, there's not really, you kind of put an end to the conversation. And so for me, you know, there's no real hard and set way for me to kind of deal with a person or a situation, or you know, certain things that I'm doing in a kind of dead set kind of way. I'll just play it by ear, see how I'm feeling at the time. If I could be bothered to talk about it, I'll talk to people about it if I'm in the mood. If I'm not in the mood to kind of deal with anyone staring at it, I'll just completely ignore people. If I'm feeling like sassy, or I've just had enough of people staring at it making me feel uncomfortable, I will literally just stare at them dead set until they stop staring at me, or I'll actually ask them, can I help you with something? If someone, you know, is really sweet and kind about it and they have good intentions, you know, I'll go into it with them and I'll chat to them about it. But you know, for me, the fear, it's more dealing with the fearful situations that I've had to kind of come up with mechanisms on how to deal with those situations. So that's really what I kind of wanted to share today. For me as well, you know, something that's actually helped me quite a lot is, you know, me thinking to myself, okay, right, I'm going to go out and inevitably people are going to stare at me. It's just the way it is. And I just think to myself, right, well, I might as well look good while they're staring at me, so I make sure I dress up as nice as I can. I put on my makeup as well as I can. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I try to make myself like well presentable, so then, you know, when people are staring at me, it's like her skin looks really nice, but she still must be really sick, and I kind of get confused about it. You know, I've had people come up to me and say, wow, you really don't look sick, but you obviously are sick, and it kind of confuses people. But I kind of figure, like, if everyone's going to stare at me, I might as well look good while they're staring at me. Somewhere I actually find best to wear my tube is to work, because there's a certain level of professionalism that has to be upheld in work, and so people don't tend to make me feel as uncomfortable, even if I don't know that specific person in work. I work in quite a large workplace, so there's often people that I'll bump into going up and down in the elevators that, you know, I haven't met before, or they don't know me, they work in a different department. And so in that sense, there's a certain level of professionalism that has to be upheld in work, and so people will obviously have a look, but they won't overly stare at me, which kind of gives me a bit of comfort. I know if I'm going into work, people won't go out of their way to make me feel uncomfortable about wearing the tube. Also, you know, whenever I go into my work in my own, you know, department, everyone's seen it. The first couple of days when I wore the tube were pretty hard, like into work is what I mean, because, you know, everyone's just really, really concerned and wants to, you know if you're okay, etc, etc. But once I was over that, I actually felt really comfortable wearing it into work, because you're always dealing with the same people. You know, there may be new people in the team, but, you know, in general, you're kind of dealing with the same people. They all know what's going on. After a while, they just get used to it. So, you know, it's actually probably the best place for me to wear my tube. I don't overly mind wearing it into work. If I haven't maybe worn it into work in a while, I've maybe just been wearing it in the house, but I haven't worn it to work in a while, and then I go about putting it in again and wearing it into work again, you know, I'll inevitably get the same questions like, oh, are you sick again, etc, etc. But again, it really depends on whether I want to talk about it or not. You know, I'll kind of keep my answers short and sweet and kind of make it, you know, move on to a different topic fairly quickly, or, you know, if I'm feeling pretty comfortable and I'm open and in the mood to discuss it, I will happily discuss it with people. So to be honest, I think the message from this is like, you own the process, you own the experience of wearing the NG tube. You can respond in whatever way that you see fit. If you want to discuss it, discuss it. If you don't want to discuss it, you know, find your own way to kind of get on to different topics, or just find a quick and simple way to kind of say, look, I'm feeling really sick, you know, I'm just not really open to discussing it right now. Maybe I can discuss it with you another time. If you want to be as direct as that, to be honest, it makes me feel uncomfortable to be that direct, so I tend to just keep my answers short and sweet, kind of giving dead end answers, so it's kind of like, okay, this is the end of this specific topic that we're talking about, and then I'll quickly move on to another topic. So it's really just about how you're feeling at the time. You know, you can respond to the situation in whatever way you see fit. You're the one who has to deal with wearing it all the time. A lot of people, you know, they don't know how it feels to kind of wear this thing like 24/7. The most I've worn it for, I think, is like 8 or 12, it was either 8 weeks or 10 weeks or something like that. And it is difficult to kind of wear a tube that whole time. And it's not just the emotional side of wearing the tube, it's the kind of physical side as well. It's actually a real pain to carry around the backpack with the feet in it. It's actually really uncomfortable. It's actually really like difficult to, you know, logistically deal with getting in and out of, like, say, the car with this backpack and the tube catches on everything, and I've caught my tube a few times on like door handles and nearly yanked it out of my face. And you know if I'm carrying around the backpack for a long period of time, I get shoulder pain, I get neck pain, and then there's just the whole thing of like not eating food. I tend to find my blood sugar drops quite low, and I get quite tired and grumpy sometimes whenever I'm on the tube. So that can really affect like how I want to deal with people. If I'm feeling really, really crap that day, I just don't want to have to kind of, you know, be constantly reminded of the fact that I do wear a tube. So I engage my either ignoring mode or I engage my sassy mode, versus other days where, you know, I'm feeling great, you know, I'm really having a good day, and I'll happily sit and discuss it with people. Another thing as well is having the confidence to wear it out in public. I have customized a bag of mine. I do have my NG Tube backpack, which I wear, and it has, you know, the kind of sling over straps, and it's literally just like a regular like school backpack, and that's where my feed goes into. But I have customized a little tote bag as well. I literally just put like a little hook inside it and I hook up my feet onto it, and that kind of makes me feel like for days where I don't want to be, you know, carrying around a backpack and looking kind of unfashionable, I have customized another bag of mine so that I can use it whenever I'm out and about, and it's kind of a more fashionable bag, so that kind of gives me the confidence as well. At least if people are staring at me, at least my bag kind of looks half decent. Do whatever you want to make you feel most comfortable. You could customize your bag, you could put stickers on it, or, you know, customize whatever bag you want from the store. You know, as long as it's a big enough bag to fit your feed, you can always, you know, sew in a little hook inside it and kind of feel like more fashionable with the whole thing. I think for me it's hard just going out and feeling like down and just kind of not feeling the best about yourself. So in that sense, that's why I like to have my makeup on, have my, you know, clothes kind of, you know, looking nice, and have a nice wee bag to hold my feet in. And at least that way I kind of feel like it gives me a little bit more confidence to cope with the whole situation whenever everyone is staring at me. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to make this video too long. Let me know if this was helpful at all in the comments down below, and please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also leave me a comment if there's any other kind of videos that you would like to see. I know that, you know, it's not specifically Crohn's people that wear NG tubes. A lot of people with a lot of different medical conditions wear NG tubes, and but the experience of wearing the tube can be pretty similar between us all. So let me know if there's any kind of other NG tube related videos that you would like to see. Anyway, please subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.